Let's look at hemophilia. To understand hemophilia, we have to look at our instruction manual, the X chromosome. Think of it as a book where a single sentence is misspelled. So if this is a book, this is a sentence which is misspelled. So if this is a chromosome, not if, this is X chromosome, and one gene on chromosome, X chromosome, is misspelled. Now, in males, there is only one X chromosome, correct? So there is no backup copy of this gene. While in females, you have two X chromosomes. So the second X chromosome acts as a shield, making her a healthy carrier. Now let's look at Criss-Cross Theory. What is Criss-Cross Theory? Where an affected father passes the gene to his daughter, where this daughter becomes the carrier. She will be healthy, she will not show any symptoms, but her sons can have disorder. Let's look at this. So, this is affected father and healthy mother. Let's look at four probabilities. So, X with H represent hemophilic gene, X with H with X here, X with H with X here, Y with X, XY, and X with Y, XY. So in the first generation, all the females will be carriers and all the males will be healthy males. What happens in the second generation? If one of these carrier female is having babies with healthy male. So what happens here? So X with H with X, X, H, X. X with H with Y, X, H, Y. X with X and X with Y. So here, this will be carrier again, carrier female again. This boy will be hemophilic because he doesn't have another X chromosome to function. And these two will be totally okay. So, if there will be two boys, the probability is 50% of the male can have hemophilia. Correct? Now, let's look at another famous example, Queen Victoria. So now, the half-filled circle is carrier. The square is normal male. And the full-filled square is hemophilic male. So let's look at this. The Queen Victoria was carrier. That means she was having one of these H genes, XHX, and the normal male XY. Let's look at what happens in her daughters. So X with H made with this normal X. So XHX. What happens in the second generation when these female marry to a normal man? Let's look at the males here. So this Y chromosome and the hemophilic X chromosome. So the male will be hemophilic. Now let's look what happens in hemophilia. In hemophilia, first let's look at the clotting mechanism of blood. So there are total 13 factors which makes this possible to make a blood clot. So think of this like a relay race. The first one will activate the second one will activate the third one will activate the fourth one, and so on. What happens here? The eighth factor doesn't get activated. So this mechanism cannot be finished and the blood will not form a clot, which lead to uncontrolled prolonged bleeding. Here you can see This is the normal blood vessel. Whenever we get injured, these cells will accelerate the mechanism of cascade mechanism, which includes 13 factors, and it will form a blood clot. But in a hemophilic person, the eighth factor will not get activated or it is not present, so the mechanism cannot get completed, which will lead to uncontrolled prolonged bleeding. Now let's look at some Punnett squares. For example, what if a carrier mother and a normal father? So let's write down here the carrier mother X X X Y carrier, so we'll have H. Now let's look at the probabilities. So the X with H with X, X X with H, X with H with Y, X with H with Y. Now X with X, X X and X with Y. Right? So what if the question is what is the probability of having a carrier child? So that will be 25%. What if the probability of having hemophilic child? That will also be 25%. The probability of a normal child, this is 50%. What if, what is the probability of female being carrier? So there are two females and one of them is carrier. So 50% of the female will be carrier. Same goes with normal female. Like 50% of the female will be normal and 50% of the female will be carrier. What if the question is like, what is the probability of having a hemophilic male? So there are two males, one of them is hemophilic. So 50% of the male will be hemophilic. My pen is not working. Hemophilic. Understanding this probability is the key to mastering this topic for your exams. Okay. Thank you. See you in the next video.